these are $100,000 race cars, and for us to go race for $1,500 to win, what sense does that make? So a lot of the promoters are kind of old school ish in the pavement open wheel short track world. And they don't really go out and hustle to find big sponsors for our events.
Freak Nation, good to get Davey Hamilton Jr. here in the Lucas Oil Studios. Frankly, it's an off season for a lot of people, but not for Davey Hamilton Jr., because he's hoping to not give up $50,000 to another driver. Davey Hamilton Jr., first of all, welcome to the Freak Nation. And two, it's not too often we have drivers come in here promoting how they hope to keep $50,000 of their own money in a race coming up in Las Vegas.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, first of all. But, there's a lot of money on the line, right? And I went out and got a bunch of sponsorship for this event. But at the end of the day, I still have my own equity and my own part that I'm putting into this as well. So, 50 grand would be a lot of money for anybody, but hopefully I could keep that to where I don't have to give that to somebody else and maybe break even on this event.
Well, hold on just a second. I know you got something else, Kenny, but usually when deals like this are put together, the person that's responsible for sponsorships gets a little bit of a finder's fee. So for each sponsor, by the way. So if you've been putting these packages together, tell me you're making a little something on the side.
You would hope so. But I knew going into this, year one was going to be an event that would be lucky to break even on. And I saw like a long-term vision for this sport, and a race or an event like this was needed for the pavement open wheel short track world. So I knew going into this whole thing, it was going to be a 5-year plan, to where year one was kind of, I don't want to say last second, but we didn't announce it until July. And that was now I'm experiencing everything. It's kind of last second. So to break even is great, but next year and the year after, we have a lot more time to do things a little bit better and go out there and get bigger sponsors and better sponsorships.
All right. Well, okay. To get back to the meat and potatoes of this thing, it's 360 wing sprint car showdown on the tarmac on concrete, which for a lot of drivers makes them pretty anxious because the car's not able to move around as much as they would like for it to, as it does on dirt. And does this attract just a certain style of driver, the fact that these are winged, that this is on concrete, or are you seeing all kinds of drivers coming out for this?
There's a lot of, it's definitely pavement centered, right? And I mean, you got guys that are really experienced in the non-wing world kind of turning into the wing world. Like Kody Swanson, for example, he's not really a wing sprint car guy. But he's got, a lot of experience in non-wing racing. And, you see guys like him and just a few others that are coming all the way out here to putting a wing on it, because it's not really the matter of being a wing or non-wing race. It's that $50,000 that they want, right? So this is always going to be a wing sprint car event. So they're going to have to learn and go run some more wing racing, I guess.
I think we just found a new merchandise idea for you. Hashtag put a wing on it.
Put a wing on it. That's right. I like that. That's a great idea. But
I'll take 5%.
Yeah, exactly. We have midgets racing as well, and super modifieds, which super modifieds is kind of like the old school wing sprint car way of getting to the Indy 500. My dad was fortunate, my grandfather, same thing. They were fortunate enough to get to IndyCar through super modified racing. And it kind of, you don't see anybody actually in today's world come through that route anymore. So the fact that we kind of are having the super modifieds here, and it's going to be a good field as well. It's hopefully bringing back that tradition of, it's not impossible to still make it to Indy going through the short track ranks. Very difficult. There's got to be a lot of things that go right to make it, but hopefully this event kind of puts us back on the map. And these are badass vehicles, right? So a lot of horsepower and a lot of downforce, and hopefully, there's going to be some IndyCar team owners coming. There's IndyCar drivers coming, NASCAR drivers coming. So there's a lot of, we're getting a lot of exposure from the racing world, and so hopefully it all works out.
Davey Hamilton Jr. joining SpeedFreaks on a Sunday night. Davey, you are really intriguing me with history of the sport. We've seen Tony Stewart do things similar to this to preserve the history. Right now, Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet with what they're doing with high limit racing, and then other things throughout stock car and IndyCar ranks. I really like that. You're kind of bringing something back to, hey, maybe it's a road to the Indy 500. Maybe it's just a way to get people back to this form of racing that everybody really loves. And I have to thank you for that. It's really cool to see your generation of racers coming in and appreciating the past and wanting to push it forward in a new way.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the compliment. There's been a lot of people thanking me for putting on an event like this. I have a partner in this event. His name's Kurt Morgan. He's not really talked about a lot, but he's a huge help in my career behind the scenes, and a huge reason why this event is even possible. So it's not just me. I have a whole team behind me and a partner in this whole deal, but we're all working together to make this successful. And for the long term, I want to see this happen every year. I know Ralph Shaheen, he's heavily involved in this event as well, and he wants to see this grow every year. And I think the pavement short track world has been struggling open wheel wise for the past few years, and struggling on car count, struggling on good shows. And dirt racing, you could go and run for $50,000 almost every week. So for us, a 30,000 to win, a 20,000 to win, 10,000 to win even is pretty big. But these are $100,000 race cars, and for us to go race for $1,500 to win, what sense does that make? So a lot of the promoters are kind of old school ish in the pavement open wheel short track world, and they don't really go out and hustle to find big sponsors for our events. So with me being young and excited, and I have a bright future and everything like this, is that I'm out there hustling, and I don't care to hear no. I put myself in uncomfortable positions at times, but I don't care to hear that no. And going out there and trying to get the sponsorship and the funding needed for us to compete for proper money.
You take car maintenance seriously, and you want to pass on that legacy of care. Use Lucas Heavy Duty Oil Stabilizer to shield your engine from excessive heat, debris, and friction. Trust Lucas Oil. It works.
Why do you think that is, that pavement has struggled? Pavement in the open wheel ranks has struggled versus dirt? Because you're right, it is just as exciting, if not more, arguably. And I mean, you're one of the winningest guys this year, if not the winningest on pavement. That doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, you got me there too. I don't get it. It's crazy is that, the highest level of racing that you could do on dirt is World of Outlaws. But, there's NASCAR and IndyCar and Formula One, everything's on pavement. Granted, you do have dirt guys like Kyle Larson's the best ever. And he's definitely, has every right to be in NASCAR, but it's crazy that you have dirt people going through these ranks and then they go to pavement for the first time in like ARCA or NASCAR trucks or something, right? And there's so many pavement guys out there that it's weird. It's just different. I don't know. Back in the day, there was a lot more pavement guys coming up, and that's all there really was. But now it's most dirt guys, and I don't know the reason why. It's just kind of a wave, I mean, it could be dirt a couple years, and hopefully now like this event is putting pavement world back on the map, and it's showing people that it's exciting and it's not dead yet. It was close from dying. So hopefully this event just shows that we're still there, and we still deserve a shot. We'll see.
Davey Hamilton Jr., the Outlaws is my favorite form of racing. Yeah. And you mentioned before we got started that over 100 teams are showing up. And you mentioned here that there's some IndyCar and NASCAR drivers. Can you mention names, or would that be unfair for you as the promoter to throw some names out there?
No, there's names out there. Jesse Love, he just signed with Richard Childress for Xfinity. He's competing in the midget portion, and then we have Arie Luyendyk Jr., which he's one of my best friends, but he obviously he was a Bachelor, and his dad was very successful in IndyCar, and he made it in the Indy 500. And then he started focusing on his TV show stuff, but I got the Bachelor racing a sprint car for the first time ever at the biggest sprint car race possible. So we'll see how that goes. But he tested a couple weeks ago, and it went well. And he's excited. He wants to help see our sport grow. So what I'm doing is a little different. I'm not really kind of going out there and finding people that are familiar with racing. He has a whole audience of people that don't even know anything about racing. And even one of his buddies, he had no idea what a race car was, or like a sprint car. And he saw one of my sprint car races, and now he's intrigued, and he wants a sponsor, and he wants to be involved and get involved with sprint car racing. And I think with what I'm doing, it's helping bring the influencer, YouTuber type world, showing them our sport and getting them excited and hungry to where it could bring in more audience, more money, more sponsors, more attention to what we're doing.
The Agajanian family has been doing Turkey Night for eons, since before you were born, probably.
Yeah.
So this has the potential to be that. Do you have long range plans, or you can't get beyond this event? If this survives, then we'll worry about long range after that.
No, I mean, I'm definitely excited for December 3rd because of how much work I've been putting in, but it's we'll see. I mean, it's a long-term plan. I got Ralph Shaheen for a couple years, and Speed Sport for a couple years, and even the Risk On 360 guys. I've been friends with them for a while, and they're the title sponsor of my event. They are based here in Vegas, and they want to be here and help this event happen every year. So we're off to a good start there. The Agajanian family is actually close friends with my family as well. They helped my dad get to Indy back in the day. So I don't ever want to take away from being Turkey Night. That's their, we're the week after, right? So they just had their event, and, we hope to all help each other. Turkey Night was always at Irwindale, that from what I remember as a kid anyways. And I know it was at Dirt at times, but I miss that opportunity to race the Turkey Night days and the Copper World Classic days. And there wasn't any event like that anymore for pavement guys. So what do? I go and put on the biggest show possible and see what we could do with it. But to answer your question, we're not going to compete with Turkey Night. We'll, I think, just kind of work together, because what this does is, if this is successful year one, and year two, the midget portion of my event grows, we're going to get a lot of those dirt midget guys out here on the West Coast already that can now look for pavement teams or pavement opportunities and race the next week here.
As we've heard many, many times, so many people, successful people, say all boats rise on a high tide. So you're right. Bouncing off of each other and helping each other is only the best for the sport. Who's given you some of your best advice? Has it been the Agajanian family? Has it been your dad? Has it been Tony Stewart or somebody that would shock us?
Yeah, no, I mean, kind of a mixture of everybody. Obviously, my dad's a huge mentor of mine, but because he's done promoting, he's had a race series. He still does. Has a race series. My grandfather, Kenny Hamilton, he used to run and own Meridian Speedway out of Idaho. So growing up as a kid, I got to see the whole promoter world of both my grandfather and my dad. So some of those traits kind of just, I grew up with them and learning a lot, but I don't think there's a perfect answer of who could help give you answers. You got to kind of figure out yourself the issues and the problems and the emergency situations that happen. It all falls on yourself. But fortunately for me, I have a crew of like 40 people right now, just for this event, and we're all working together. And I have the end say at the end of the day, but I trust everybody's help and what they're doing and what their job title is. And starting Thursday, I put my helmet on, and hopefully I just become a race car driver and don't have to worry about all the promotion stuff. But I'm going to be stressed out the entire time.
Davey Hamilton Jr. I'm from Southern California, and I went to Irwindale regularly, and they bought in wing sprint cars to Irwindale Speedway, and they were too fast for the computer. They had to reprogram the computer because it was throwing out the numbers saying that's too fast. I imagine you've had some testing done at the Las Vegas Bullring. Did you have to do any changes to the computers there or anything to the track to handle the excessive speeds of these wing cars?
No testing, zero testing yet. So the first time a sprint car is going to hit the track is Thursday morning. And that will be the first time anybody will see a wing sprint car at the Bullring here in Las Vegas. super modifieds have raced here before, so they're pretty similar on speed. A little bit slower than us, but the timing situation, we should be all right because they have experience with the supers. My timing team actually is from Indiana, so they bring all their stuff with them out here. So they do sprint car racing. It's for Anderson Speedway, Little 500. So there's already experience there. It's funny that you went to Irwindale though. I don't know what year you went, but there was one year that I was racing there, and me and Bobby Santos were throwing pavement slide jobs, which were actually pretty entertaining to watch every corner. I mean, we were just passing each other every corner, and it was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, I ended up in the wall and ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was the biggest wreck of my career. But fortunately, I overcame that, and here we are.
Let me ask you one more promoter type question. The super modifieds across especially in the East Coast, are different than the rules on the West Coast. How did you get the two of them refused to change for the other one? How did you get the two of them to show up, or do you just have West Coast cars at the Bullring in Las Vegas?
Yeah, so we have a mixture of both West Coast and East Coast, actually. The cool thing is that I've actually partnered with the Speed Tour Super Modified series. They're already based in the West Coast, and they already have experience with all their super modified teams on how they run their show, what they do, their drivers. So I basically just partnered with them to bring them into my event. So they're a part of the Open Wheel Showdown, but they are also just kind of doing their own thing. The cool thing about the West Coast Supers is it's a open comp, bring what you run type deal. So everybody is kind of experimenting with trying new things and different things. So the East Coast guys can bring whatever they want and show up. My dad is one of those super drivers. And if I wish I had a picture of this thing, I don't know what he thinks. I really don't know his concept, but he's got something figured out, I guess. And his super modified has like two giant nose wings that are from like an Indy car, basically, stacked on each other. And I don't think it's going to work. I have mentioned that to him, but he will find out on Thursday.
They are dumb fast. I mean, anybody that wants to, you cannot believe these cars, how fast they are.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're known for. Even in the wing sprint car stuff on pavement. Yeah, you've been to World of Outlaws, and I mean, even on dirt, they are cruising, man. It's crazy. But in pavement, it's just a different. There's no wheel spin really, so it is. I mean, I feel like we're faster than the guys on dirt. They had us run at Bristol Motor Speedway at one point a couple years back, and we were way underneath the track record. I know they brought back World of Outlaws, but they'll never bring us back because of just how fast we were going. There's not really, we hit harder. We'll put it that way. When we crash into the wall, we hit harder.
It's incredible to watch.
Davey Hamilton Jr. joining us here in the Freak Nation. Sprint car pilot Davey Hamilton Jr. here. You mentioned Kyle Larson being the best ever. How is Kyle Larson the best ever in a sprint car and on dirt from your perspective?
I don't even think it's sprint car racing. I think if you we're going to find out this year. We're putting them in an Indy car, right? McLaren is putting them up for the Indy 500. And I think that is something that everybody is excited for.
So are you saying Kyle Larson is the best driver in North America?
I think right now you could put him in anything and he'll win. I do. So yeah, I would have to say Kyle Larson is definitely one of the top drivers right now in the country.
Do you think the majority of drivers, not fans, but drivers feel the same way you do?
I think if Kyle Larson was to come to my race, I would be confident that he would be competitive. And, that's one of the guys I want to beat. You just naturally put him on the list. I want to beat that guy. And I think when you're as a driver, you could show up to any track and you're one of those, you're on that list that everybody wants to beat you. Like right now, I'm not going to try to talk about myself, but right now when I show up to a wing sprint car race, people want to beat me because I have the most wins and, I'm pretty competitive at everywhere I go. But Kyle has that ability in every single thing he does. I mean, it's just, he's the only guy that can hop in literally anything and be the name that you want to beat. So, I don't know. He's one of the best for sure. And he's accomplished a lot of things. And I think if he does very well in the IndyCar world, then I don't know, man. throw him in an F1 car. Let's see what happens.
Davey Hamilton Jr., Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson they're now going head to head against World of Outlaws with their high limit racing series. Where does Davey Hamilton Jr. and where does Davey Hamilton Jr. and your co-driver, your other drivers think? What do they think about them going head to head with World of Outlaws?
I think it's just our sport, right? Like at some point you're gonna have different series competing with each other, and Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet are very smart and they know what the sport needs and they know what they're doing. And I don't even know if it was meant to like kind of be a butting head deal. I think it's just two series that compete in different places and for different money or different situations. But I don't think it's really butting heads against World of Outlaws. I think Kyle even said it, that he would go and race World of Outlaw races when he can, or if there's time to go do it. So I don't know. I don't think it's button heads. I just think it's one of those things where just another series that's added to the plate. And, I know there's points fun and travel fun that, people have to commit to. But as a racer like Kyle is and some of these other guys, they're just going out there and hitting every race that they can.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a handful of people that are genuinely going for like a championship type situation. And it's up to that team or program of what they want to do. But I think they're both so healthy in the world of sport wise that I don't think they're going to have any problems, surviving long-term, even going head to head.
Steve Kinzer in his prime versus Kyle Larson versus Brad Sweet. You've got $50,000 to put it on one of those
versus
three.
Davey Hamilton Jr.
That's easy.
Even though he won't talk about himself.
Those three dudes on pavement, and then those three dudes on dirt.
Kyle Larson on dirt, and well, if you include myself on pavement, then I'm going to go with myself, just because I have a lot more pavement experience than Kyle does in a dirt wing sprint or in a wing sprint car situation. Brad Sweet and Steve Kinzer, I don't know how much pavement experience they have, but I would have to choose Kyle Larson out of those three again.
Wow.
Ooh, Kyle Larson over Steve Kinzer
in his prime.
I'd have to say so, man. I don't want to say I'm a Kyle Larson fan. I don't know if it's obvious, but
you don't need to.
I just think that guy has accomplished so much in the racing world that it's hard to pull for the guy. And he's, I have a comeback story myself, and I kind of hit ground zero a couple years ago, and I had to overcome that. And he kind of went through something similar, right? He lost everything at one point, and he had to show everybody that he changed and that he still deserves to be a race car driver. And so I really look up to him in that way, that he had obstacles that he had to overcome, and I had to do the same in different situations, of course, but I look up to him for that.
Do you think that putting on this race and really your racing is legitimate therapy for you to keep yourself from hitting rock bottom again?
No, I think, you have to do what, I think everybody just needs to go through a life lesson, a learning lesson of, maturity. And, at the time, man, I was very stubborn and cocky and not appreciative of things. And so I never really experienced what it's like to have nothing. And I quickly learned what it's like to have absolutely nothing. But, when you're a race car driver trying to make it, you're thinking about money, you're thinking about how you're going to live, you're thinking about wanting to win, sponsorships, how do you get to IndyCar, how do you do this? And my dad and my family, it's very, I don't want to call it business family, but it's one of those things where they're not handing me things. It's, hey, if you want it, you have to go do it yourself. Okay. So years ago, I was in a very hard spot of like, okay, do I give up and become a realtor? That was genuinely on my plate. And I had some bad business partner type deals that I was very young. I was like 20, and I couldn't even ask my dad for advice like on a contract. He was like, you'll learn. It's up to you. You figure it out. Oof. So I'm 20 years old. I have a huge 6-7 figure contract in front of me, and I didn't read it. I just saw the number. I just signed, which is a mistake. That's one of those things that you have to learn, right? And at the time, I just didn't really realize the effect that would have. And but now it's a support team. I have so many friends now that like look up to the fact of like overcoming that obstacle, and You know, and I do race a lot. Fortunately, I'm very thankful for, but I'm not out there bringing money to go race. I'm getting paid. I'm on salary. You know, teams are offering me things, which I never would have expected. This was not even my life prior to what I went through. And so everything's worked out for the better. But I'm just hoping that my experiences in the years to come, it helps young adults going through business relationships, personal relationships, business deals, overcome or learn from my experiences, basically, so they don't make the same mistakes that I did.
So Davey Hamilton Jr. Promoting the Open Wheel
Showdown
festival, whatever it is at the
there you go.
Las Vegas Bullring.
Yep.
You've been a driver. You've traveled all over the country. Now you're tasted promotion. You think you got more driver or promoter in you right now?
Oh my gosh, I don't sleep anymore, especially this past week. There's a lot of stress, so I think a lot about little things like, you know, do I have enough wristbands? Like just little tiny things, the trash that needs to be picked up. Like walls were just painted today, and I want to be out here hands-on, helping any way I can. We've hung up probably a couple hundred banners. I'm not really sure, but there's a lot of banners that have to be hung up here. And I like to be hands-on. So I'm out here. My team's out here helping me. My actual race team, they didn't have to come out here and help me, but they all came out and they're all giving me a hand. So that's good. Driver wise, I mean, my driver's still in me. I keep telling everybody, I can't wait to put my helmet on and just, get into turn one for the first time at full speed, because that is my break. So once I put my helmet on, I can't even afford to stress about, hey, is this trash can wrapped? You know what I mean? Like I can't, not stressed about that anymore. It's my job as a race car driver under the team that I'm involved with, and my contract with them is to go out there and perform and, show them why I deserve to be their driver. They pay me, so I have to perform for them, so this is the biggest race for them as a team in general. And I want to give back to that team because they put in a lot of work. They're in the shop every day, and they're the only reason why I'm winning races, to be honest with you. So, once I put the helmet on, it's all driver, but until that point, it's all promoter. So, it's a mixture of both.
Come time for the main to hit, it's going to be about 38 degrees in Las Vegas, don't you?
Oh man, I promise you, this past week was a very scary situation as a promoter, because you don't want these cars to be competing in cold temperatures like that realistically. And luckily the Vegas forecast has kind of gone up every day from what it was where it started a week ago. And there was a chance for rain, which for my first event, of course, you get rain on the radar. It's just like, oh, what do you do? Luckily everything has worked out. The temperature is actually looking like it's going to be good. Yes, it does show 38 degrees as a low for Saturday. But with when our race starts, I don't think it'll be that cold. I think we'll be around the mid 40s.
So just don't have any 8-minute sessions, and it'll be fine. Everything will be cool. If you don't have any 8-minute sessions and you have to chase people out of the stand.
Oh,
no. Well, it should be a great show. I mean, there's however, this is a first of its kind, right? So 105 teams. That's thousands of people in the pit area. So you have to make sure all your officials are calling the right guys up at the same time. Half these guys have the same number. So you got to make sure you go to the right team, and they have to have all their information properly to and then you have to organize everybody, and that's impossible to do.
Now you listen to the promoter talking here, guys.
Yeah.
This is promoter. I'm learning a lot, and you can't make everybody happy. You set everything up your way, and then this guy has something to do it better. This guy has something to do it better. And then, at the end of the day, this is my dream, my vision. I dreamed about this event years ago, and started putting it on paper, and one step at a time, working our way up to now it's actually coming to reality. And we'll see what happens. I don't think everything's going to go perfectly. Like, it would be nice to have that happen, but that's not going to be realistic.
That's not reality. That's the thing. There will be failures, but what will make year 2 even better, and year 3 and year 4 and year 5 and year 20 is to learn from those failures.
Easy,
and clearly,
Tony Robbins.
No. What I'm saying is clearly this guy's got his head on his shoulders. He already knows this stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm just uber impressed with this entire interview with you, and I'm so stoked to see how this comes out.
Davey, come on. You want to organize hundreds of 9-year-old female soccer teams in a tournament, or you want to organize this damn thing? Let me. Okay, have your pick.
Yeah, absolutely. This thing for sure. I mean, I'm a racer for the rest of my life, and seeing my grandpa here and my dad here, it's cool, right? And just seeing them happy and proud. That goes a long way for me.
I'm gonna jump in here as a promoter. You've got to say, you haven't said it yet, but you've got to say the Risk on 360 Open Wheel Showdown at the Las Vegas Bullring. That's got to be thrown in there until we cut you off the microphone.
I know. Yeah, no, I mentioned them once, but right. So it all started off as Davey Hamilton Jr.'s Open Wheel Showdown, knowing that name would change once the title sponsor came on board. So Risk on 360, now it's known as the Risk on 360 Open Wheel Showdown, which it's a conference. Realistically, it's basically a big conference that happens here in Las Vegas. It happened last week. But they had like Tucker Carlson and a bunch of these very well-known people in the business world talk about anything you could talk about: business, life, money, stocks. And it basically just helps other people that are at the conference learn about whatever they want to learn about, ask questions. And so it brings a lot of these successful people together. I've had a relationship with them for years. They're a partner of, or they're actually one of the branches off of BitNile, which BitNile, I'm sure you guys have seen on Ed Carpenter Racing, multiple Indy cars. And I've been friends with them for years now. So, and they've always wanted to get involved in my racing. Right. And it's been not the easiest. It's been tough. Like, hey, let's go Indy Lights racing. Let's go NASCAR truck racing. Let's go do this. And they spend so much in IndyCar and other things that it's not the easiest way of, accomplishing that. So this was a home base for them. So it was pretty easy to get them to jump on this. And I think you're going to see a lot more with me and with Open Wheel Showdown, get more involved with Risk on 360 and BitNile in general.
Badass.
Thank you, Todd Alt. Thank you.
Hey, exactly. Todd, John, Tim, the whole crew. Yeah.
All right, Freak Nation. Davey Hamilton Jr. What's a good website to get all the information that people need to check this thing out, bud?
Yep. So all of our social channels and website is just openwheelshowdown.com. All of our social channels are at Open Wheel Showdown. So we have all of our partners on there, and I wish I could list them all. But I have to give a huge shout out to Kirk Morgan and the Kirk Morgan Racing team, just because without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And they have given me this opportunity to show myself as a driver and show myself as a promoter. So huge thanks to them, and huge thank you to the Risk on 360 guys as well for coming on to this year one event.
Here's that promoter. You got to be that promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, man. Davey Hamilton Jr. here in the Freak Nation. Buddy, thanks for doing this. Good luck to you this weekend.
Yep, thank you.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now.
Let's go! Yeah!
For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. It all adds up for one amazing party. Go to WWTRaceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.